Welcome to a conversation with Senator Michael Moore. My name is Kevin Byrne, and Senator Michael Moore is our state senator representing the 2nd Worcester District, which is comprised of 8 communities in central Massachusetts with an accumulated number of people of about 170,000.
Very good.
Of those 8 communities, Shrewsbury is without question the most important. I can say that Senator Michael Moore represents 7 others who he probably can't say it. Welcome, Senator Moore. How are you?
I'm very good,
It has
thank
been a
you.
while since we have done this because
We've had holidays, we've had
oh
vacations.
boy, have we had holidays. We had
Yes.
holidays after holidays. All of my family came home. I don't know if we've done a program since Christmas. So we've talked about Christmas? Probably not.
No,
We were talking about, I think we did a show just before Christmas, because maybe you were talking, you were going out Christmas shopping with your children and all of that sort of good stuff, all right? But we had Christmas on Cape Cod.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have a house in Dennis.
Okay.
That Virginia spends almost the entire summer down there. And our children decided, they didn't ask, we were told, we 3 children have decided we're having Christmas on Cape Cod. I mean, wouldn't it usually be the situation they say, hey, Mom and Dad, can we all go down to Cape? No, they said we are having it. So everybody came, children, grandchildren, everybody brought a dog.
Well, dogs are nice.
It was absolutely delightful, really and truly. But there's a wonderful thing about kids. Once you've gotten to the empty nest stage, as Virginia and I have, is basically it's so wonderful to have them all here. We hug, we kiss, and then 7 to 10 days later they all leave. And when they go, Virginia and I go, yeah, and the dishwasher says, that's enough. Okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. Okay.
Well, it was funny, I was, my daughter and I were out there the night. And
Driver's license.
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yep. So we were out there the night, and I was telling about a friend who was actually over in Israel who was saying how they hadn't seen their parents in 5 years. And I was telling my daughter, I'm like, I just can't imagine not seeing one of my children in that long of a period.
Of time, right.
But as we all grow old and leave the nest. So
Yeah, they all do.
Yeah.
At one point, we had them all over the place. I had the largest telephone bill, AT&T or whatever, Verizon, wherever my carrier is. We paid.
Is that why the stock went down?
No, they made more money on me. Okay, we had one who was living in Italy, one that was in Texas, one that was in California, and everybody had their own cell phone. And the deal was, I will pay for anything amongst family. Anything else you pay for it yourself, okay? That lasted approximately 48 hours. Then I found out they were talking to each other, calling from California to Milan, Italy.
That'd be quite expensive.
To say, I just washed my kitchen floor and it looks really pretty, and stuff like that. Son of a gun. But enough of that. How is everything going amongst all of the folks, including yourself, down under the Golden Dome? This is kind of busy time, isn't it?
Yeah, we had.
We're doing this program just about the end of February. By the way, today we're having what tantamount to a hurricane out there. There
yeah.
are trees blowing down, and all of our receptacles, rubbish receptacles, are being blown all over streets and the rest of it. But in any event, it's the end of February. Busy time for folks.
Well, it's been busy since we went back in the first Wednesday in January. We've had a bill filing deadline and sponsoring deadline. So I think roughly, we usually have about 5,000 bills. We've got close to 6,500 bills filed this year.
Okay.
Yeah, between the House and the Senate.
There was a year or two, if there were 65, you were contributing about $4,000, I think.
No, was it?
One year you had more bills going in. I think they probably cut you off. Did the clerk say,
I had 86.
86.
86.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike, it was actually funny because this year, when we were leading up to it, and before we broke for Christmas, my staff and I was, okay, let's there were some bills I had filed over multiple sessions that just weren't going anywhere, so we actually went through and said, okay, this isn't going anywhere, let's get this off.
Okay.
But, so we had 6,500 bills that were filed, so
That'll keep you busy for a while.
yeah, so that we had to go, the Senate, we have in our rules where we can co-sponsor a Senate bill up until it's released by committee. If we want to co-sponsor a bill that's filed in the House, we had to do it by, I think, the end of January.
Yeah, cutoff date.
Yeah, so yeah, we had to go through all those bills that were filed, so there was that. We just got committee assignments.
What do you have for staff? How many people do you have?
Let's see,
I mean, no, I'm sorry. How many people does Shelley have? 'Cause we do understand, okay?
Well,
There's
there's
a lovely
Shelley.
lady named Shelley,
Yes.
okay?
Who just texted me, by the way, that the wind is brutal out in Boston also.
In
So,
Boston,
yeah.
no, they said they were getting walloped down there, and they were getting snow squalls.
I got 5.
Said somebody really too. You got 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. It's busy.
Yeah,
Busy
no,
time
it is.
for
It's
everybody.
very busy. So,
Shelley and Zach keep me all well prepared as to what Senator Moore is doing.
and Julie, Julie was handling my higher ed legislation.
Okay.
And I had Matt that would handle public safety and homeland security. Zach also used to do the municipal regional government, but that committee's now gone. Then I have Doreen, who does constituent services.
Sure.
Who works out here in the district
Yeah.
and in Boston.
She's out here at
the Shrewsbury Housing Authority.
At the Towers, right?
Yep. So this year we had the committee assignments that were just given out about a week and a half ago. I retained the chairman for the
Yeah,
committee.
we're going to talk. We're
Okay.
going to talk about this. Let's put this in perspective. We were talking about this just prior to being told it's time for you to stop chatting and start doing television programs. Anyway, okay, is the what I had suggested to you? Occasionally, the Worcester Telegram and the Gazette does it. The Cape Cod Times, which we get when we're down the Cape, every single week publishes everything. You know, all of the bills that have come up that related, I assume, to the districts on the Cape and how the senators, which there are 2, and the reps do, and then they've put down, you know, they'd always put down on it, and the Senate was in session last week for 4 hours and 21.5 minutes, okay?
Yep.
And the House was in session for 3 hours and 49 minutes, and like that. And you always hear people, we've talked about this before, you always know about people who often will say, you know, hey, look at these guys, you know, they got their big offices in Boston, they're making big bucks. Look, they're working 4 hours and 21 minutes, for God's sakes, for a week. What about that, okay? Not bearing in mind that what that relates to is the time that you guys walk into that room with 40-some odd
chamber.
chairs in it, the mackerel on the roof,
Yep.
okay? Roof, as my former secretary used to say. And literally they're doing the voting at that stage. It doesn't involve all of the committee work, okay?
Nope.
All right. First one, I am told you were reappointed to the, you are the Senate Chair of the Joint Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, and you have been on that committee for a period of time. How long? It's been a while.
Right from
I think right from the very beginning.
Right from the beginning, I've
Right.
been on the committee.
Right.
I was vice chair for at least 3 terms.
Okay, so now you're the Senate Chair.
And I was the Senate chair. I got the
So
chairmanship
it's a
last year.
joint committee, so
Joint committee.
there's, when you say joint committee, we're talking about.
So there's senators, there's roughly about 4 senators and about 10
reps.
representatives on the
Okay.
committee. So when the committee has its hearings,
Okay.
it consists of those members.
All
So I got that chairmanship, I've retained
I
that
think you got it
chairmanship.
from the beginning because you've got a substantial law enforcement background.
Yeah, no, it's why I was on the committee, but the vice chairmanship came, you know, actually I'll have to go back and check it. I may have had the vice chairmanship right from the start.
We'll ask Shelley.
Yes, yeah, that's a good question. But the chair who was there previously, he left, so halfway through the last term, well, I shouldn't say halfway, I think it was right after, I think the first 4 months, he left the Senate. That was James Timilty. So I would, and this is where you talk
Not
about.
voluntarily, by the way.
No, he did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of somebody
You're
else.
thinking of, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
you're thinking of the
Sorry,
other
sorry,
person.
sorry,
Yep,
sorry,
yep.
Always be careful. Don't defame anybody.
Yes, so I had two committee chairmanships, and then when he left, I got a third. And at that point, and this goes to what you're saying about the workload, I had roughly 800 bills that my office was handling. So we had to arrange hearings and report out on bills.
Sure.
So this is, and people forget that leading up to the committee hearing, you have to prep for it.
Sure.
And then after you do it, then you go to do the votes, and you have to get all the information ready.
Right.
It's not just showing up in that one day. So
And you're getting constituent input on all of this stuff, right?
and then while my staff's in the office, as you know, like today, I'm out in the district, running around having meetings. So those articles of that Beacon Hill report that they put in there is very misleading. The amount of work that's actually being
Homeland
conducted.
Security involves civil defense, firearms, fire laws, correctional systems, prevention of terrorist attacks, amongst all sorts of other
Police, fire, EMS.
busy time.
Yeah, we actually have a bill that we're filing this year that we're trying to update the civil defense laws regarding municipalities. There's we were one of
Oh
the
yeah, there was some. I read something about that.
one of the law firms out here who does a lot of municipal law had actually come to us that in this when the state declares a state of emergency, there's a chain of command on who has what authority. But if a town, say if Shrewsbury were to declare a state of emergency in Shrewsbury, the question is technically actually can they, and then who would actually oversee it? There's nothing in statute that says the director of emergency management, or what's on the books now is civil defense, which the term today that is used is emergency management director, who has authority over the police, fire, and the different departments.
Gotcha.
So we worked with this firm in Worcester that helped to write the original legislation.
Yeah.
So we're trying to establish that, work on establishing that chain of command. So that's one issue. We've got drone legislation that we had last session.
Oh, we talked about that, right? Yeah.
Doing that. We actually worked on the last session, the ERPO, the Extreme Risk Protective Order legislation, and then the bump stock legislation. We did that.
Right.
So police, fire. So we have all those we're looking at. We
Who's my good friend from Clinton? Who's the state rep?
Hank
from
Norton.
Clinton?
Hank Norton.
All right. Hank's been active with a lot of that.
Yeah. So so hopefully we're trying to get through. We were able to get through last year in the Senate. The House didn't adopt it. There were some issues with the Sex Offender Registry Board and the tracking of sex offenders. That there was a gap in that. So we've got that filed again, trying to get some reform and that. And trying to think what other high-profile issues we have going through there.
But it still continues on, and it concerns
Yes, yeah, it goes on.
just a tad of your time.
So
You are also appointed by the new Senate President, Karen Spilka.
Yes.
Spilka, right, okay. Who's from Ashland? I
Yes.
thought she was
Yep.
from the Cape someplace, but she's from Ashland, okay? And you were appointed to the top post in the Senate Committee on Bonding Capital Expenditures and State Assets. And for capital expenditures, Virginia and I were going to go out to dinner tonight. We're wondering, is there any way we can get some kind of capital expenditure?
not enough of that.
No, you
No,
can't do
that would be looked at as an asset.
But that includes an awful lot of stuff.
Yes, it does.
Standing committees, labor, workforce development,
Yep.
post audit and oversight, the Senate Ways and Means. That's an important one, Senate Ways and Means.
Yes.
That's a big
Yep.
time committee, right?
Yeah,
That's where
I've been on that since my second term.
all the dough comes
It
from.
all starts right there. And actually, if you go back to, if you look at the Committee on Bonding, when we do these big bonding pieces of legislation where, we authorize $3 billion worth
Yep.
of projects
Yep.
that
Yep,
it's,
to fix the MBTA, which.
well, in municipal projects.
We're going to talk about it in a while, but the municipal projects.
In municipal
as well.
projects, environmental bond bill, transportation. So now, starting this session, I'll be chairing that committee with those, if we have any big sort of infrastructure legislation that moves through. I'll be chairing the committee now that will have some
Right.
oversight of the projects that go in there, so it's...
God love you, you're gonna be very busy with that, because Infotech things are things that I've read most recently is the Department of Transportation
Yeah.
looking at what do we do about the two bridges leading to my house on Cape Cod, okay? What do we do about Alston and straightening out
There's
the
about
Mass
200
Turnpike?
200 bridges in Mass that are deficient.
Oh,
structurally.
sure,
So we have a
absolutely.
lot of old infrastructure. And, you know, and look, I'm chairing this committee, I'm from this area, so I'm not ashamed to say I may prioritize some of my stuff, or some of the, I shouldn't say my stuff, but some of the central Mass
Sure,
things. So it would be nice to have some.
Because you represent 8 communities.
That's right. 8
in
communities that
whole,
need
in
some
part,
infrastructure.
That need infrastructure, really and truly.
Yes,
okay?
so, yeah, so.
It's a big issue, because we've been kind of out of whack on that sort of stuff for a period of time.
Well, and that's actually how we, because I was actually, prior to this, I've been on the committee. That's actually one of the ways that we were able to get the funding for the Route 20, the water and sewer, connecting
Sure.
the sewer to the Upper Blackstone.
Route 20, so it's going to the Blackstone.
Instead
rather
of going
than
up
to-
through by Lake Quinsigamond and down through the city.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
so-
And out to the, whatever the river is to the east of us, right?
Right.
Okay. And that, my God, that was in the works. That's been talked about for years and years and years.
I can
and it
remember
is
when I-
so important.
When I first got elected, there was a representative from Worcester who was at the meeting that he said, "You'll never see the money for that, it's too much money." He then left office, and then the following term, I was actually, again, because I was on this committee, I had some input. I was able to get the funding in the Senate. It went to the House. The new rep in the House was able to hold it in the House budget, and the city matched the state allocation. And now Shrewsbury does have some issues with the sewer treatment.
Sure do.
It having that piping system put in there, the infrastructure put in there,
And
in
moving
long-term- right.
moving it west rather than east.
It's going to,
Terribly,
it's
terribly
benefiting
important.
multiple communities.
It really is. It really is. That's a good thing. It'll hopefully further open up Route 20
For more business, yeah.
to more business and for more development. Okay. There's a third one. What was it? Oh, Vice Chair, Joint Committee on Financial Services.
Yes, so this is
okay.
a new committee that I haven't had any involvement with, but I am looking forward to meeting with I'm going to be meeting with the Senate Chair, Jim Welsh. So we're going to have a meeting coming up the next week or two to
Is
see
he
what-
from the Cape?
No, he's actually from Springfield. He was actually the chair of healthcare
okay.
financing last session. So we're both going to be new to this committee, so we'll see what's going on with this. Deals with banking, regulatory regulations, insurance companies or insurances. So I'll have to see what some of the major legislation is that's going before those committees. So
So you have full days.
yes, yeah. Then we have the Ways and Means. Which
So please, when people see that little thing that's printed occasionally in the paper about, the Senate was in session for 3 hours and 21 minutes, it
Yeah.
does not take into
oh, no,
account
that's
where most things get resolved, or the time is spent on most things, is through the entire committee process, okay? What happens amongst the senators themselves, what happens at public hearings, what happens with constituents, what happens with lawyers who stick their noses into things and say, we don't think you can do it that way. It's not an easy project, nor is it a thing that can be done rather quickly, really. and
Oh, it's a
truly.
long process. And I was just saying to someone this morning, where it was 5,000 pieces of legislation, this year it's 6,500.
right.
We may pass at the end of I think it's between 200 and 300. And the majority of those pieces of legislation that are passed are home rules, are local
yeah,
options.
right.
The big pieces of major legislation, you don't want us passing 5,000 or 6,500. So the process is designed to be a long, difficult process.
I know.
Because you don't want
We
thousands
still have an open petition process.
Yeah.
Can anybody file a petition?
through their legislator.
Through their legislature?
Right.
No, but I mean, I can come to you and say,
Yes. Yep.
or I'd like you to do this.
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. So, busy time down there. Where are we with the budget? Is that all squared away?
The governor's released his budget, so he actually, so we released the budget.
Which obviously has to be all done and in place by May 30th. Ho, ho, ho. Never happened in the history of North America.
No, June 30th.
June 30th. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
June 30th.
I'm sorry. God help us, we should say May.
Yeah. But he actually, he's, in the budget, he's acknowledged the Foundation Budget Review Commission and he's put forth a proposal, which now, we've now had all three branches at least put something before. The Senate's done it twice. Last session, the House and the Senate did versions
You're losing.
on the Foundation Budget Review Commission.
Oh, gotcha,
And
right, okay.
readjusting the school formula.
Yep. Oh,
they
God,
could-
yes, please.
They couldn't come
The
up with it.
endless school.
So they didn't come to an agreement last session. Now at least the governor's put something out. So you've had three
Sure.
branches, each
Kicking
put
it
out a
around
different
for a while,
version.
right.
So now hopefully we'll get something resolved. He also did something with regional gas initiatives,
Oh, okay.
which he attached the fee to the recording of deeds.
Oh, yeah.
He
yeah.
increased the deeds.
Wanted to raise the fees.
Yeah, by 50%, which has,
Yeah.
from some environmentalists is getting a positive
people will
reaction,
get-
but
people
some
go
of
getting an uproar. Every time you say the word taxes, that's why, with a Republican governor, even with something like that, it's going up a couple of bucks, but it goes up in various registries of deeds. I can always remember the number. I used to always tell people, when you sell your house, please bear in mind it's $4.56 per thousand. It was at one stage of proceeding, 456. And somebody said, why? I said, nobody has a clue why it's 456, but they want to raise that fee, and it's tagged on to. It's a stamp that gets put on a deed. So if I want to sell my house, I have to give the buyer. I have to pay that tax. The stamp goes on it before it can be recorded by our new Register of Deeds, for Pete's sake.
Yes, yep. So he's
Done
done
it
that.
for
So we're going to start our budget hearings. I've been able to last 2 or 3 years to get the Public Safety Joint Committee on Ways and Means to hold a public safety hearing here in Worcester.
Good,
And I
good,
was
great.
just informed again this morning that I've got the authorization again, and we're going to be holding it, I think is it March?
Sometime in March?
Yeah, sometime in March, we're going to be having the, let's see here. So if anybody wants to come in regarding police and fire and public safety,
Well, that'll be published. That'll be publicized.
yeah. I think for some reason March 25th is standing out in my mind.
Yeah,
Trying to,
it is. My memory is it's toward the end of March at some point.
no, it's going to be March 15th.
March 15th.
March 15th at the,
Mid-March.
it's the Senate, it's actually the Senate Ways and Means hearing. It's going to
Where's
be
it going to be?
Hanover Theater from 10 to 5.
Good, great.
So,
Go down there,
yep,
talk about fire, police, and watch your show at the same time, right?
oh, it's a good idea. Maybe we can, maybe there's going to be a special showing that night.
Let me segue into something about hearings, holding a hearing in Worcester, okay? There is an issue involving the Mass Bay Transportation Authority, okay, and their raising of rates somewhat substantially.
Proposed raising of rates.
I'm sorry, proposing, that they want to
Yes.
raise the rates,
Yeah.
okay?
Yep.
And managed to tie in their proposal with, if memory serves, the city of Boston inflation rate, or tied into something with that, and also managed to do it without touching base or having any hearing in the city or county of Worcester.
Yes.
Shame on them, because we are the second largest user of commuter rail services.
And second
I
largest city in
understand.
New England.
And
You would think that.
yeah. Hello, and it's 45 miles right out here. You can do it right here. Tell me about that. I know that you signed on with a letter that went to whoever was in charge.
Well, I
of
went to the
doing-
DOT. We actually it was brought
basically
to-
complaining about an
Yeah,
increase
it was
in
brought. It
in
was
rates.
brought to our attention that, first of all, that there was no hearing. So we actually drafted a letter and sent it out to my colleagues, and
Sure.
they signed on to the letter. supporting the request for them to have a hearing. So we are actually having a hearing March 6th at Union Station from 6:30 to 8:30 to talk about the proposed
An
increases.
appropriate place to have.
Yes, so we're Zone 8. A one-way ticket right now is $11.50. And the proposed increase would bring it, would increase it 75 cents a day, so it would bring it up to $12.25. Now to some, that may not seem a lot, to others that is a lot. And I guess the issue I have with it, look, we have to increase some fares. But with our attempts to try to provide incentives for people to use the commuter rail rather than drive,
Right.
so we can reduce our carbon emissions, we can reduce congestion.
Sure.
The fare increase
And there's been
in Boston is not going up 75 cents. It's going up much less. So why isn't there some sort of better formula that's used so that maybe the people further west aren't paying
more significantly to us folks in central Massachusetts, the use of that commuter service has increased substantially over a whole bunch of years. My former colleague, Jeff Spofford, who lives in Westboro, every time he would go to court or depositions or anything involved with the city of Boston, he would go to Westboro, he'd jump on that, he'd go down, he'd work on the
since 2012, it's increased 45.7%.
That's amazing. It's amazing the number of people that use it. And bearing in mind, you know, the congestion in getting into the city of Boston, the cost of parking a car, or as I say in my South Bonnese, parking the car in the city of Boston. You know, you're at the point where you may need a second mortgage to get into a garage down there and all that sort of stuff. So this has got to be increased. You know,
but also too, people have to remember, if you look at across the country, any of the commuter services like this receive substantial subsidies from state governments, state financing. Maybe we look at that, increasing the funding there.
Sure.
I mean, there's been some proposals.
And
I have some colleagues that want to make it free to people.
Well, that's nice. There's no such thing as free anymore, I don't think, anywhere. Okay. You know, there's a whole bunch of other stuff we have to talk about, so we're going to do this. This is the end of February, sometime in March, maybe after your meeting out here relating to your committee, you and I will sit down again and go through some more of this stuff so that the folks in beautiful downtown Shrewsbury can understand that what Michael Moore does is important.
And those two hearings will not be factored into that little article that you're going to be reading down the page.
Right, I got it, okay. Thank you again for what you do for our community and for the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you.
And see you again the next time.